Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday to you, June 23rd, 2025. I've got all of your stories for your rush hour ride to work, and it is a hot one as I record from my mobile studio setup here in New York City. It's going to be close to the triple digits, so I hope everyone is trying to stay cool out there. I've got a lot to get into. We've got a bachelor pregnancy we'll discuss, plus Laura Owens, speaking of pregnancies or not, she's trying to go to the Arizona Supreme Court. I'll read the response from Bachelor Clayton's legal team as to why it's a waste of their time. It's a good one. Then we got the Dallas cheerleaders getting a nice pay raise. And then we've got MIGA, M-I-G-A, Trump's new slogan. I guess it stands for Make Iran Great Again, ? What is he talking about? Oh, yeah, that's right. We had a really insane military operation happen over the weekend. We'll discuss that, break it down. Are we in a war with Iran? I mean, it looks like it. So be careful out there. Fill up on your gasoline. Prices might start to go through the roof. We got a lot to get into. All these stories and more. It starts right now on The Rush. We'll start with a congratulations to Bachelor star Hannah Ann Sluss and her NFL player husband Jake Funk, expecting first baby together. Call it the greatest gift. This is a People exclusive. There's the cute photo. We found out we were expecting during a trip to Dubai. It was such an unexpected and joyful surprise, a moment we'll always treasure. And there's the nice photo of her baby bump. And of course, what's an influencer to do without pimping out the baby products in the background? I don't blame her. Listen, if people wanted to pay me to put baby products in, I'd have them dangling off my forehead. But no one cares enough, I guess, for me to do that, so I don't. But if I could, I would. And Hannah Ann, you're going to have to pay for diapers. It's expensive, so congratulations to you. Let's jump to this heartwarming story before we get into all the dire stuff, because there is some dire stuff to get into. Finally, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders are getting a raise, a 400% raise, which, again, doesn't mean much because they were so underpaid, but have a listen.
The Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, okay, personal favorite of mine, have something new to get excited about. The squad members are set to get a 400% boost in pay for the 2025 season, according to one of the cheerleaders on the second season of their hit Netflix series. They've been pushing for pay increases for years. In season 1, we learned the cheerleaders were paid around minimum wage, with many holding 2 or even 3 jobs to make ends meet. The average NFL cheerleader makes about $23,000 a year. So, I mean, 400% increase, you're not making bank.
And by the way, that's even more than I thought. I had a friend who was a cheerleader on the Eagles, and she said she didn't even make enough money to cover her hair products. I'm not kidding. But then again, it's like if no offense, but if a cheerleader blows out her ACL, it's again, as far as pay transparency goes, they're not exactly putting their life on the line on the field. All right, cheerleaders, don't get mad at me. I understand you should be paid a livable wage, absolutely, but hopefully you're not getting CTE. I mean, the NFL it's a weird and wild place out there, folks. Okay, let's move on. Clayton's lawyers file final legal document in Arizona Supreme Court case. This was compiled by Justice for Clayton official doing the Lord's work with the Bachelor Clayton case. Some folks have said, hey, is Dave still covering the case? Of course I am. It's just been a little quiet, but we are here to cover the big stuff. Clayton Echard's attorneys at Woodnick Law have filed a response urging the Arizona Supreme Court to reject Laura Owens' latest appeal attempt. This follows the 19-page court ruling that found Owens faked a twin pregnancy and ordered her to pay $149,000 in legal fees. The new filing argues she avoided key legal issues, faced no actual judicial prejudice, and that the court system has shown her extraordinary patience despite her persistent unreasonableness. So let's go to some of the things that were said in here in his lawyer's response. Again, I mean, will this thing go to the Supreme Court? Could you imagine? But by the way, she's lost her appeal. She lost the trial, the June 10th trial. She's being charged with 7 counts of perjury or felonies. It's like, gosh, we should all be inspired by Laura Owens. I mean, she does not quit. Owens versus Echard is not an important case. This is not to understate the meaning of this case to the litigants, whose stakes in the outcome are self-evident, nor its significance to the many Superior Court judges who labored over the underlying dispute and who now continue to do so in the criminal division. It also does not diminish the diligent interest of public observers who have followed, scrutinized, and reported on the proceedings with voracious appetites for transparency transparency and understanding of the legal process. None of these acknowledgments change the simple fact that Laura's appeal failed to develop any meaningful issue that this court could properly consider. A case can have substantial meaning to the parties and even the public while having nothing to offer in developing the state's common law. Basically arguing, look, there's nothing to learn here. She just lost the case. Laura's original motion to dismiss even acknowledged this barrier, yet she failed to challenge the denial of that motion on appeal. So they continue. Instead, the record at every stage of the proceedings shows extraordinary patience and fairness to Laura despite persistent unreasonableness. The trial judge kept control of a difficult case, and the reviewing judges found no prejudice from one significant misstatement of trial testimony. When the record so thoroughly supports the trial court's conclusion and justice has been done, reversal would serve no meaningful purpose. Indeed, there comes a time when every case must end, otherwise the process becomes more important than the resolution. It is time for this case to end. I mean, look, I couldn't agree more. There it is. What else can you say? This is somebody who, she should be a vexatious litigant. She should be on a list. She should never be able to use the judicial system to bully people again. And after, she loses her case, which she will because they have concrete evidence against her. Hey, look, I always say she deserves a fair trial. Absolutely. The problem is the amount of money that taxpayers have to pay to foot the bill to seek justice. It's just criminal. It's criminal. And then again, she might be going to prison. So we'll have more on that as it comes. But her trial is set for October 23rd. No plea deal has been made. So she's pled not guilty to 7 of the charges. It's absolutely wild. Well, over the weekend, the U.S. bombed Iran. I know it's a big transition to go from celebrity news to the possibility of a World War III. The U.S. has launched an offensive on Iran. They claim that Iran has the capabilities to develop nukes. Even after several months ago, our own people, our own, intelligence community said they don't. They're not there. So what is this all about? Well, here's Jessica Tarlov on Fox talking about this deadline. So Trump basically said, I'm going to give them 2 weeks to negotiate before all hell's going to break loose. Then within 48 hours, he bombs the hell out of them. So this idea, maybe he just got impatient. I'm not too sure. But let's have a listen to these false promises that keep getting made by Trump. This one being, we're going to negotiate. Then they kill the lead negotiator. I'm going to give you 2 weeks. Then he ends up bombing. What about the concepts of a healthcare plan they were working on? Listen, really. Anyone who's paying attention should be looking inward at our country and saying, how does this help our community? Now, you could argue, well, this is providing peace through, offensive, making sure that they don't have the nukes. If the premise is that they have nukes ready to shoot at us, but that's not going to happen. They don't have the capabilities. We're being lied into a war.
Bibi has been doing what Bibi wants to do, and we're following along. I don't know where that leads, but this idea that Donald Trump adheres to deadlines is absolutely ludicrous. The man promised us a healthcare plan over 450 weeks ago. It has been infrastructure week since I was born. Russia's sanctions are supposed to be coming in 2 weeks. A tax plan. 2 weeks is meaningless. Jesse might be right. It may happen tomorrow. It may happen in 2 weeks. It may happen in a year. I don't know. But they're going to have to deal with the fact that there is a contrast within the intel community right now. Caroline Levitt from the podium is essentially parroting Israel or Mossad's assessment of the risk from Iran, saying that this could be a couple of weeks. Our intel community is saying that it could be several months to a year, which is what Tulsi Gabbard testified to in March. And apparently the intel community is completely split on this. Donald Trump is going to have to pick which camp he's in on this. It seems like he's leaning towards Bibi's assessment of it, that this is impending doom and that you need to decide within, the fake 2 weeks. But that's some really tough stuff because
now, of course, right after this, within a day of this coming out, the U.S. bombed these nuke facilities in Iran. And again, there's a lot of information out there But everyone has conflicting ideas, and it's like if you don't have like a solid set of information on your intelligence, should you really be bombing and blowing up a mountain? Here's the moment that Bernie read the message from Donald Trump after the bomb happened 2 nights ago.
This is a statement from Donald Trump, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran," etc.
It sounds like he's at a Jerry Springer event here. The crowd boos from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, of course, Bernie is here on his Fight Oligarchy tour, trying to, share with people the real villains here, the billionaires that have, bought elections, the shrinking middle class, the fact that we can't afford basic human rights, healthcare, and things like that. Now we have a crowd in Oklahoma, one of the poorest states out there, chanting "No more wars." I mean, can you see how powerful this message is? These people in a deep red state yelling "No more wars." Make it make sense. So there it is, powerful stuff. Now, of course, the issue is people are saying, well, just several months ago, Tulsi Gabbard said that Iran doesn't have weapons like nukes. And again, this is, we were lied into the previous war, spent trillions of dollars, tens of thousands of lives lost, forever, our, men and women service members' lives are at risk. Now, Tulsi responded with this: "The dishonest media is intentionally taking my testimony out of context and spreading fake news as a way to manufacture division. America has intelligence that Iran is at the point that it can produce a nuclear weapon within weeks to months if they decide to finalize the assembly. President Trump has been clear that can't happen, and I agree." Now, what's confusing is Israel have nuclear weapons. We have nuclear weapons. And up until 2018, there was an agreement to keep Iran from developing nukes. Trump pulled out of that agreement. Now, Iran says they've got 60% capacity, which means there's 60% there, but that's a bargaining chip just to make sure that they're never blown to smithereens. Now, I'm not defending Iran. From all I've seen, the leadership's not great to their people. But why does the U.S. have to play referee here? Now, here is Donald Trump learning that Tulsi contradicts his own statements, and then I'm going to share what Tulsi said. This isn't the media producing fake news. This is the media holding people like her accountable. If she really wanted to not be a part of regime change wars, she would have quit by now.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
So make it make sense. I don't know, folks. So Trump tweeted this last night, or truthed this. "It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? MEGA, make Iran great again." So this whole idea about America first, again, I hate to rub, people's nose in this, but, it's not about left versus right. It's like, what's good for our country? And this attack on Iran will lead to lives lost. The amount of soldiers and service members we have, United States, Americans, in the Middle East, thousands. And they are just sitting ducks, as Iran has said they will retaliate. Here's what J.D. Vance, again, somebody else who was supposed to be big on not wanting wars, here's how he, bent the knee and is supporting what's going on. And it's this whole idea where they say, well, we want peace, and the way to have peace is to bomb, their nuke facilities. It's just going to lead to either an attack from Iran or more terrorist attacks, puts a massive target on our country's back.
I'm not sure if you heard the president's comments earlier today. He was asked about Tulsi Gabbard, DNI Tulsi Gabbard's comments that there hasn't been intelligence that Iran is close to a nuke. And President Trump said that Tulsi Gabbard is just, quote, wrong, said she's wrong. There's been reporting that there's maybe a little bit of internal turmoil going on. Is that true?
Look, first of all, this rift, whether it's a public rift or a private rift, what I see every single day is, number one, a political movement that's united behind the president's leadership because he's doing great things for the American people. And
what has he done for the American people? Iran is going to be blocking off the canal, the channel that controls a large majority of the oil supply to the world. Some are saying this could jack up oil prices to $7 or $8 a gallon. That is a massive, massive tax on Americans. Make this make sense, folks. Where is he with his health care plan? Where is he with taxing the billionaires? Doge was an utter failure. They didn't shrink the Pentagon. They're adding trillions of dollars in debt. The only people that are benefiting are those that make over $1 million. They're getting a tax cut. We know this, right? We know this, right?
That is very much united, especially at the senior levels, with doing what President Trump has asked us to do. That's true of Tulsi Gabbard. That's true of everybody else in the administration and the president's national security team. I think the comments that you're referring to are frankly a creation of the media. Tulsi has been very consistent that what the president has said about the Iranian nuclear program is true, that they're getting too close, that they're enriching uranium far above the level that would be necessary for civilian uses. The president's been consistent about that. Tulsi Gabbard and every other member of the national security team has been very clear about that. What I see in some of these questions is the media will say, well, Tulsi Gabbard said this. Do you agree with this? And then when you actually look at what Tulsi Gabbard said, she didn't say what the media accuses her of saying. And I think that's true in this case.
You know, it's the same saying, don't trust your lying eyes, right? So, all right, folks, there you have it. You heard what she said. Now they're trying to tell you, you know, what's that saying? Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. That's what's happening right here. And they're using the same tactic, right? They're saying, oh, the media's just trying to divide people. Well, in this case, the media is trying to share the hypocrisies that are existing. There was no vote by Congress to start this war. They didn't even alert people of the Democratic Party. They just told the Republicans, you know, they gave them the sort of briefing. It's absolutely crazy what's possibly about to go down. Now, here's just a personal, not a personal with me, but just a personal story, a humanitarian story of a man who found himself in Iran. He was biking across the world. What terrible luck. Have a listen.
A man from Minnesota, an amateur who dreamed of cycling all across the 7 continents, who happened to find himself inside Iran when Israel's bombing campaign began a week ago. Ian Anderson's his name. He was traveling through the country as part of that worldwide dream cycle trip. The journey quickly turned into an escape mission, however, as the fighting began and the bombs began to fall.
Ian Anderson told me that Iranians there were initially kind and generous. They gave him tea. They even tried to pay for his meals, but that all changed when Israeli missiles started falling last week. And he and his guide, they sheltered in place just north of Tehran.
I knew I was in quite a bit of danger, you know, because people were seeing Israel and U.S. as being quite tied together at that point, like as the bombs kept falling and the missiles kept striking. Did hear a bomb on Sunday morning, and that was right around the time I got the email from the State Department with options on how to get out of there. It was pretty clear, okay, Azerbaijan is the place for us. This one makes the most sense.
What did you see? Who did you pass? What was the feeling?
So it was an 8-hour drive, and we left the rural village and mostly just saw lots of traffic, long lines of fuel stations, heaps of military checkpoints. It was quite harrowing.
So we'll give updates on his story, but it's just, I mean, there's something like, I think they said 25,000 Americans that were in Iran. And again, everyone's at risk right now, as Trump said that people should evacuate Tehran. So it's not just, there's so many lives that are at risk based on these decisions to bring us into this war. There are new threats going on. Trump says if they retaliate, they would be met with a force far greater than the bombings. What does this mean?
Well, we should let you know that the president just issued a new statement that I think is notable given some of the conversation that you've just been having about maybe some of the items that were left out of his remarks, but that are all the more relevant. He did just say that any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald J. Trump. So when we talk about where this goes from here, the potential future implications and what it could mean for U.S. military personnel stationed in the region and around the world, or for potentially whatever could be at risk here domestically, and however Iran chooses to respond to this, the president trying to emphasize that point with his messaging on social media tonight.
So there it is. Yeah. So again, lots of folks are at risk. It's a very serious situation. And, there's always a hyperbole in the presidential election world where, candidates are accusing other candidates of crazy things. But this is an odd one that kind of came true. Right here, have a listen.
This president is thinking about putting us in a position where we're in a war with Iran. The consequences will be absolutely unacceptable and tragic in terms of the young men and women who are American soldiers who would be sent and deployed into something that was completely avoidable. In a Harris administration one, we wouldn't have gotten ourselves into this mess. I have good reason, based on everything we know publicly, to suspect and to be concerned that his motivation is more out of self-interest than it is the interest of the American people. I'm traveling our country and meeting with the families who are sending their sons and daughters.
Yeah, and of course, none of these political leaders seemingly have their kids. Like Don Jr., he's not serving in the military, right? Barron, he's not in the military. They don't have to worry about the lives that will be affected. Sadly, so many of the military members that are going to be at risk are people that got into the military because they couldn't afford college, and our military industrial complex kind of, they try to find the kids that need a ticket out of wherever they are. And it's absolutely wild. Here's Tulsi Gabbard saying that Donald Trump wants to end wars, not start them, last year.
War. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote for a man who wants to end wars, not start them. A vote for...
All right, so there you have it. But he just started a war. And a lot of people are saying he was actually suckered into it by Netanyahu, right? The leader of Israel, saying, they've been trying to get this war going with Iran for a long time. Now, obviously, Israel is a target of Iran, and no innocent people, my heart goes out for all the innocent people that are part of this, endless Middle Eastern war. But, I just don't understand how here in the United States, this is something that should take our top concern when we have, lead in the pipes and so many other issues going on. You guys understand this. You know where we stand. Hey, listen, I'm going to be very busy today. I'm actually in New York for a friend's wedding, so I won't be around for my Patreon, which I normally do a live stream, patreon.com/Dave Neal, but I will be uploading one of my stand-up sets from the New York Comedy Club that I did over the weekend. So if you wanted to catch my stand-up and haven't been able to see me live, you can go watch that now at patreon.com/Dave Neal. I'll have a link there for you to view that. And otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow on my Patreon. I go live. I try to go live almost every morning, but again, a little tough when we're traveling right now. So stay out of the heat. And we'll continue to share these stories. Coming up this afternoon, I got a new Blake Lively story that's going to piss off some people as they see lies and lies and lies being told. We're here to cover all that and more, so hit subscribe. We'll see you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.